Okay, hello everyone. So, welcome to Brief Encounters, to the second episode. Today we have the young filmmaker João Magalhães with us. Hi, João.
Hey, João.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. I mean, mostly at home nowadays. Can't do much else, but it is what it is. Like doing okay. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. How are you, Inês?
I'm good as well. I'm very happy to be here with you guys.
A huge pleasure to be here talking to you, João. Thank you so much for agreeing to do
It's my
this.
pleasure.
João, we were thinking that maybe it's a good way to break the ice between us three and ask you what's your unpopular opinion on film.
My unpopular opinion on film. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't find the Star Wars prequels that bad, and I love The Last Jedi. So yeah, I guess that's very unpopular. But
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, no, I literally think Star Wars: The Last Jedi is the third best Star Wars film. I think it only loses to Empire Strikes Back and The New Hope. It breaks the conception of what you're expecting from Star Wars. It has good character development. It does have a section in its second act that I feel like, yeah, it drags, and it has like that bad subplot with Finn and the other girl, but it's still okay. It doesn't bother me that much, and I feel like the storyline with Luke and Rey, it's pretty good. So yeah, everybody's gonna hate me from now on listening to your podcast, so I
Yeah,
apologize
everyone
in
just
advance.
tuned out already. No one's listening anymore.
Yeah, I know. I thought João told me this a while ago, and I thought, okay, this is the moment to stop our friendship. It's right now. But then I think that everyone will feel that the answers to everything else will be interesting enough to make up for such an unpopular opinion. Don't worry.
I mean, look, I've had this discussion for the past like 3 years, ever since the film came out. There's not a month where I don't speak about this movie because people just disagree so much. It's fun. It's actually fun.
So you are studying film in
Yeah.
Solent University, right?
Yeah.
In your third year.
hmm
My question is, when was the moment that your brain clicked and you realized cinema? Okay, that is what I want to do.
Right. I was at the end of my 10th grade in Portugal. I was studying. We call it humanities. I think we can say it's like language, history, philosophy on high school. And I always said I was going to study law because in realistic terms, I actually didn't know what I wanted to do. So law felt like the cool way because I like to argue. And then I started to realize it's not just that, it's like these massive piles of laws that you have to do and so much more bureaucratical stuff that just didn't attract me that much. And I always loved writing, and I always loved movies. I mean, João knows this because we always spoke about films. And in the summer break between 10th and 11th grade, I remember vividly sitting down at dinner after watching this lecture online about filmmaking. I barely done any films back then, but I had written a lot and did theater. And I told my parents, look, I wanted to study cinema. And they looked at me like I was saying the worst thing ever. Like, they literally looked, okay, weren't you going to study this? Or, because cinema is a very hard industry for you to get in. And it obviously, if your kid tells you he's going to study something that's going to give him a job, and then he tells you something different, it's a bit starstruck, but they got used to the idea, especially when the opportunity to study abroad came. From then on, like, that was my goal. I started to do little, very bad short films with my friends before going to uni, and those are buried like in a locked vault. But yeah, no, it started developing from that. I don't know what I would be doing if it wasn't film. I honestly don't know. Yeah.
I feel the same way. A lot of time I complain about what I'm doing, but at the same time, I just look around and I think, what would I do if not this?
It's a
And
love-hate relationship.
People always say if you love what you do, you'll never be tired. That notion needs to end. Even though it's very fulfilling, there will be points in your job that you will feel tired, or you will, like you said, it's a love and hate relationship. Not everything goes perfect in any film or any form of art.
So we had a look at your shorts and some other projects you work with, and we realized you had a lot of roles in their production. We were wondering if you could
Yeah.
give an overview of it.
Well, there's this notion, everybody that's going to film school, not everyone, but like most people that go to film school, they're like, oh, I want to be a writer and a director. And they're very like set in stone, like, this is what I want to do. And, I wanted to be a writer and director. I kept listening to Tarantino and these big speeches of, you want to do something, and go ahead and shoot a film. I feel like uni gave me these opportunities, not only uni but outside of uni, to like start to develop my skills in those departments, even though they are university projects. They're not industry level projects or anything. But I started to develop myself on that. But the interesting thing that came with it was that once you start working with a team that like film like you do, you start trying different things out. I tried cinematography, I tried production design, I tried editing, I even tried sound, my least favorite, but at the same time I enjoyed the process of it, the philosophy behind sound. And it's, the best way for you to actually know, okay, I want to write and I want to direct, is trying out the different things that university allows you to try. After trying the whole thing for a full year, I decided, okay, yeah, this is actually what I like the most. I actually like writing and directing. It's actually where I feel the most comfortable with. And I feel like that's, gave me a better understanding of the other departments and the full process, which as a director is, very helpful.
Definitely.
So, what do you value the most about your set experience so far?
I have two different experiences I can talk about briefly, but I feel like the most important thing that I took from first year of film school was to, again, everybody wants to be a writer and director, but that can come with a big ego. And not that I was very egotistical, but that was like my clear set in stone. And when people communicate with each other in first year in a film set, it's, at least from my experience, it was chaos. Everybody wanted to be a director, everybody wanted to film to look the way they want to, and the discussion was very much the way the film we want to do. And that was very toxic. And I felt that as soon as we let that go, we started making better projects. We started making the most out of everyone's qualities. There was this on-set experience that, in first year I did this short film called Pharaoh, and I had these ideas of genre horror slasher filmmaking that I always wanted to try, but that didn't work at all. I think it's one of the worst films I've done, because the thing is, I had an idea, my cinematographer agreed with me, and then I had people who said nothing on set, which is even worse, and I had people who wanted to do something else entirely. The communication was horrible, but we were learning too. So I feel like that is very prevalent in a production, to put our egos aside and collaborate. There's this thing that the Russo brothers say, that in any movie the best idea wins. And obviously you need to have a certain vision, but at the same time, if someone says something better than what you're used to, then go with it. You might as well try. And the other film set experience that I had that I still value a lot was when I actually did with João back in Portugal. And the reason why is because we had to try like stuff with very low means. And I find we had nothing. We had a camera and a tripod and and it was a monopod. It wasn't like an actual tripod. And it was like amazing because it allowed us to try so many things. It was so freeing. It harkens back to what people used to do in the new wave cinema, where they didn't have gear, they didn't have anything or funding. They started to corrupt cinema in a way. And it was so much fun. I got to direct in Portuguese for the first time. Again, collaborative. It was a great deal. So yeah, I think that's the things I started to value the most.
You are working now in your biggest project so far. a short film called Alud.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk us through the concept behind it and the main differences you have encountered between this and your previous project?
Well, so Allowood is a film. It's my final major project, and for the first time you enter university, you are contrasted with this idea that by the end of your course, you're going to have to do this film that's going to be the biggest film you did so far. So we always thought of different ideas and bounced back ideas with our co-workers. I worked on a script throughout second year that didn't came to fruition because the idea for this film is that it has to be a 20 to 22 minute short film, and I wrote too much. So I was like, okay, I want to come back to Portugal. I want to come back to basics. I don't want to make something that is a horror out of this world of dimensions, because I can't do that with a low budget short film. And I think that's something that actually you learn at film school. The first things you do are also Nolan-esque. I call it this way because Nolan films are big, right? Like big productions.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
daring. I don't know, they try so many things. But when you go to film school, I mean, the first film I did was a zombie film. And it wasn't that bad for a student short film, but it's not the same as going to see even a low budget short film on TV. And then when I did this short film called Beatrice, which is so simple, I had to think on it for I had a different idea again, and I switched to something else in 3 days. And what fascinated me was that it's this simple story.
It was so good. I watched it and I loved it because it's so eerie, so creepy, and yet it's so simple. It's exactly what you're saying.
And I think that the humanity of things started to interest me a lot as a filmmaker. It's like observing people is something that films, or at least commercial filmmaking, doesn't take a lot of time to do nowadays, you know? Like, it's always this philosophy of cutting to the beat and not being fully immersed. And I started studying neorealism and other practices of filmmaking. And I came across the concept of telling a story about a young kid who lives in a countryside village. And after a fado band arrives, and fado, by the way, is this Portuguese musical genre, he gets enchanted by it because he never seen music played live. He lives literally in the middle of nowhere. And he gets excited by this idea, and it leads to a bunch of misdeeds that this kid does, and it's all told by this sort of father and son relationship and how the different views they have with music impacts their own story. I mean, I guess the biggest influence I have directing wise with this film was this film called Where's My Friend's Home. The concept of this film is a kid goes out of school and takes his friend's notebook and he has to deliver it. And I thought, man, this is so simple. It's not like the world's gonna end or this kid's gonna die or anything. And I felt like, okay, if I can be moving, if I can tell a story that is moving, hopefully, with this simple concept, then I feel like I'm gonna learn something. I'm going to improve. Which in the end, that's what uni is about. But yeah, no, that's the film.
My question is, once you started planning this, and once you said that this is your goal since you arrive at uni on the first day, and you know what you have to do, and you know that in the end you're gonna have to shoot a film, and it's gonna be, as you said, the biggest film you have done so far. And I'm sure you didn't predict, no one did, that you'd have to work in the midst of a pandemic.
Oh God, no. It's the worst thing ever to do.
How did it influence your work, and in terms of planning and shooting and doing the castings, everything? How has been?
You know, it's good that you mentioned that, because I obviously, when we went to uni and they told us that we had to do this film, like you said, nobody was counting on having COVID around to kind of screw everyone's plans. What I mean is, it's difficult, I have to admit. It's tough to plan everything, especially when a good portion of your equipment comes from the UK and I'm shooting in Portugal. I'm renting most of my stuff here, but my camera is in UK. Without a camera, there's not a movie. And now every time stuff is shut down and being delayed, you know, originally I was supposed to shoot the film next week. Now I hope I can do it in the end of March, but it might be delayed again. And the idea of these things that you have to do is that you have to be very careful with what you spend from your budget, because you don't want to impact your production on the future. When it comes to castings, like you said, I was very fortunate to be able to actually physically go to the casting agency and speak with the actors for a while, and have them in front of a camera and working with me and different actors. I couldn't bring loads of actors there, but I brought my dad. He would help me with the casting and with the child actors and everything. I got most of my characters cast. But the thing is, some people are comfortable taking a mask, some aren't. I have a scene on my film that has 30 people on it. It's tough to say, like, I haven't blocked or shot anything during the pandemic. In fact, last film I shot was literally before the pandemic hit. And in that sense, it's hard to prepare it. It's going very slowly because we have script, we have the crew, we have the budget. I'm very glad we actually got to get the money to do the film. And we have the people, but at this point, it's more about seeing when we can shoot it and plan it very carefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of answers I can't give you, unfortunately, on this matter, because we're getting new information every day. Like yesterday, we could take cameras abroad. Today, we can't. Tomorrow, we're going to be able to. It's very uncertain. But the film will happen. That being said, even if it's not for uni, we've committed to do it. So yeah.
That's great. We were wondering, how do you approach a new project?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any special routine to get your creativity going?
Yeah, so glad you mentioned that. It depends. As mostly now I'm writing and directing, it's interesting because different directors have different approaches, even in university. And I found that very, very, very funny because, some have a script they've been working for ages, and some thought of an image, and that's it, and then they're going to develop it. I find that research is very important, and opening yourself to different types of filmmaking really helps discovering what your film is about. But most importantly, and I think with this film here, it's actually been helping me to do it, is being open to change things. Because the most important thing I do when I have an idea is I write a draft. I have the concept. I don't care about doing an initial treatment or doing an initial character development. I just write it.
Yeah.
Those things come after. I get feedback on it after all of that. Then I properly think about it because I have the time. And we're fortunate, actually, because of the pandemic, for me to write a 10th draft just 2 weeks ago that changed the time of a scene. It gives us this space to develop stuff. And it's important because I don't know if this happens to you guys, but when I write something, I feel way too attached to it. It's like, I'm not saying
my
it's
creation,
good, but it's like I've written it.
It
took time. I got invested on it, and then someone comes out and say, "I like this, but this, and that's not working." It's kind of heartbreaking, and it takes me a day to like mourn about it, and then go and and just like do it. But yeah, research, watch other films, develop your story, and most importantly, like I have this approach that I'm writing about what I know. I'm writing on my hometown now. It's so much deeper in some ways than writing about a guy landing on a moon and fighting aliens, which I love too, but I don't think I'm at that stage yet, personally.
I bet that the process changes when you're doing something like the 48-hour short challenge.
Oh yeah, man, 48 hours is crazy.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to see the process behind it and been talking to you, at least for the last one. And we talked before the 48 hours, we talked somewhere in the middle, and we talked afterwards. And even getting to the idea, because when you have 48 hours, it doesn't work like that, right? How do you approach a challenge like that?
Yeah, well, first off, a 48-hour film challenge is something that's just so much fun. The first thing you have to do is assemble a good team of people you like working with, because you're going to be pressured and not everything's going to go well. It certainly hasn't with me. But it is a great experience to be creative under pressure. And I find that the process for me is the way both 48-hour film challenges worked was that they sent you a line a line of dialogue, and a movie genre. And the movie genre is not like a clear movie genre. Like, for instance, the last one was called Hip Hop Robot Apocalypse. The first thing you say is, what is this? Like, what am I supposed to do? Hip Hop Robots Apocalypse. Like, how are we going to do this? And I was fortunate to get a good producer, get someone who can get you to someone are not expecting to. The coolest thing I was able to get in those two 48-hour film challenge was that I had a good location. You know, it looked good. It set the tone for both of the films. And with that in my mind, it's not the same process as if you're writing your own thing and then you get more people to help you on it. Everybody's in it from the start. Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
I wrote it. I wrote the script. I had the idea for a girl being trapped and tracked by robots. It was meant to be this fun little thing, but the people started to bring in more ideas. Maybe she has a cut in her arm because she's been fighting with them for a while. Maybe this and that. And it's so fun because it's crunching all those stages of development to one evening where you have to get everything ready by the next day, and it's so creative. Don't sleep much, but it is
It's worth
great.
it.
It is really great. And when it doesn't pan out as you wanted, it's okay. It's a creative experience that is a lot of fun. But yeah, different processes, of course, different approaches. Yeah.
I was wondering, how do you measure success as yourself as an artist and of your individual projects?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, I think when it comes to film, everything is so subjective. You might like your film, you might hate your film, and you're in university, so there's grades. But that doesn't really matter in success as an artist. Obviously, I care about my grades. I'm not saying that, and I'm not advocating for that. But what I mean is, Tarantino didn't go to film school, Nolan didn't go to film school, and they are right now. I don't think success monetarily is something that is going to satisfy me much. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
something that is required for you to survive.
Yeah.
But what I just want to be able to is to actually be involved in filmmaking, to actually be helpful in making movies and bringing my own stories to life at some point, working collectively to achieve a goal, to achieve a certain film. That's the main reason of success. If I can do a feature and it's a good movie and I'm satisfied with it, then that's great. And I think that's always, and every movie is like a stepping stone. You're always learning from what you do before, and you're willing to try new things. So I feel like that's probably my idea of success, is be able to do my own films and be involved in the filmmaking industry as whatever it is, even if it's France, I don't care.
I think it's Charles Bukowski that says, if it doesn't come bursting out of you, don't do it. That's the feeling, It's not, at some point, some stories are not because I want to tell them. It's not because I want to do it. It's because
You have to. Yeah.
I have to. There is no other option. There is no other way. In order to survive in my own body, I need to, because a lot of our listeners are also film students, and we have film students in third year that certainly had a very different experience than you had for several reasons. And then we have film students in the first year, and film students in the second year. Our question is, what is something you wish you knew when you started shooting your own stuff?
So many things. I didn't know much about filmmaking as a practice. I knew the basics of script writing, I knew shot types and whatnot, but I really learned the basics in film school. So every week we got to do a short film. And I feel like the thing, again, is that you have to be open to change with everything. And it's not so much about wanting to be something and be crazy about, Jesus, I have to write, and you're in this directing class that has 10 directors, and what if I don't get to direct? You're going to get to learn something, like you're going to get to do your own film. I think that the thing you have to be prepared, and this is almost a deal breaker, is that you can't sit around all day saying that you want to be something, but you don't do anything about it. And I'm not saying you aren't. What I'm saying is, a lot of times you feel like this is how you do a film, and it's so rushed, and everything is so rushed. You do a location scouting, you see it, cool. and we shoot there. But the process is so much more involved, and there's so many more things that we need to learn. And if we don't, we are going to fall behind. Like, there's no other way. You have to learn these things, even if it is at uni or after uni or before. Learn them. Do as much as you can, and don't be mad about having to shoot till 2 a.m. or to 3 a.m. And David F. Sandberg says this: if in the end you need to, you're going to have a better product than going home by 5 and getting a good time for dinner. It doesn't matter. You have your own schedule, you have your own film, commit to the film. First year is very much about that, I feel like. It's learning how much harder it is to make a film, because film is not vlogging on YouTube. Yeah. Film is a wide array of people working together to do this complicated but very beautiful thing. So I guess that's my advice, and the whole ego stuff that I've been speaking about. Yeah.